The United States of America is at war, or I should say, the United States has been forced into an unlawful war against Iran by a fascist leader in the United States. There is no end in sight. The entire Middle East is engulfed in war right now. Donald Trump and his regime are referring to this as Operation Epic Fury. We refer to it here as Operation Epstein Fury or Jeffrey Epstein's War. The timing clearly seems to distract from the Epstein files and the fact that 1600 Pennsylvania is the center of this cabal, of this Epstein class. There is no end in sight of this war. There appears to be no plans of what to do next with this war. The death toll continues to rise with American soldiers killed and injured. It's unclear if we're even getting accurate data regarding the death toll and the amount of people or the amount of our soldiers who have been injured. We're trying to decipher the truth where you have a Trump regime that lies, an Iranian regime that lies, a Netanyahu regime that lies, a Russian regime that lies, and the United States has lost all credibility abroad right now. Everything that our top generals and admirals warned would happen if the United States struck Iran is not just happening, but it's far worse than I think even our top generals and admirals had warned against. All the while, Donald Trump is saying that he's surprised that Iran engaged in these attacks against the neighboring countries, and specifically in those Air Force bases and areas where Americans have troops. Donald Trump is also not ruling out American boots on the ground. He said that other presidents were afraid. I'm not afraid to do that. And then he's just making weird social media posts as though we're not even at war. He's posting articles about Nixon and saying how it's a fascinating piece about Nixon and how he was the victim of a deep state plot so complex and enormous he cannot fathom, but Trump is smarter than Nixon, purging his enemies before they purge him. Donald Trump posting 2020 election conspiracies, free Tina Peters. He's posting photos of Fani Willis, Fulton County's district attorney, posts about the Kennedy Center, which he's randomly posting about, and then just reposting stuff from the State of the Union and right-wing influencers saying an absolute all-time close from President Trump. Everyone on the right should enjoy this while they can regarding a State of the Union. Oh, and then he keeps on posting that he was endorsed in 2024 by Lady Gaga's dad. This is what he's doing right now while America's at war, while our embassies throughout the Middle East are under attack, while Trump has now provoked some of the sectarian violence across the Middle East that has resulted in so much death in the past, and now it's all right there at the surface. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about the deposition of Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton finally being released by the House Oversight Committee. It took them several days to release it when it was supposed to be released immediately. Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton wanted it to be done in public. They wanted a public hearing. That was refused. And now we see, as we predicted here on the MeidasTouch Network, why the MAGA Republicans refused to release these video depositions right away. By the way, we're going to put the full video depositions for you to watch here on the MeidasTouch YouTube channel. I mean, it was really bad for Donald Trump. And the fact that these MAGA Republicans rushed to do these press conferences after the depositions and say, Bill Clinton exonerated Donald Trump. It was the perfect deposition for Donald. He's totally exonerated. It's just these Putin tactics that we see over and over again. Rush, lie, repeat, and then hope you frame the story that people don't care when the when the actual facts come out, because you've already programmed people with the lies. We'll actually show you clips from that deposition so you can see for yourself. I'm Ben Meiselas. This is the MeidasTouch Network, and we have been nonstop, 24/7, reporting on the war, every detail, every update. We've been there covering for everybody. Brett and Jordy, good to see you.
Good to see you too, Ben. Good to see you, Jordy. Good to see you, Midas Mighty. And I want to thank everybody who's been tuning in day after day, or should I say hour after hour, watching all of our various updates on the war. I know Ben was live within seconds of us learning of these attacks, this disastrous decision. But I want to thank everybody for being with us every step of the way in this. This has to be the most dangerous and irresponsible foreign policy decision that I've ever seen in my life. And that's saying a lot given that I grew up with Iraq and Afghanistan, which I did not think could possibly be topped. But right now we have utter buffoons in office. Pick your buffoon. I mean, whether it's Donald Trump or Pete Hegseth or Marco Rubio, this cast of characters who kind of think everything is like some B movie, some like B action Hollywood movie, that the phrases they use, the way they speak, the way they lie, the way they just everything about them. But this isn't some B action movie. This is real life, and there are real consequences to their actions. And we're all seeing in real time what the consequences of those actions are. I think Trump thought that he could go into the Middle East and overthrow a country's leader and see no ramifications for it, and that the world would just bend to his will. But he is learning fast that that is not true. And this has quickly escalated. This is not a contained conflict at all. This is region wide and expanding fast. And everybody, honestly, is kind of in danger now as a result of Donald Trump's actions. He has made the world less safe. He's made the United States less safe. If the concern was protecting Israel, which it seems like that was a big part of all of this, he's made Israel less safe. He's made all the Arab nations less safe. Donald Trump has thrown the world into chaos. And frankly, we're lucky if this does not end up in a World War III situation. But we're already seeing all of these powers pick their sides, and it is very ominous. But let's break down the facts as we know them. Let's break down all the information that we have. First, I got to toss it over to Jordy. Jordy, what's the latest?
What's up, brothers? What's up, Midas Mighty? I'm excited to get into tonight's show. I have a lot to talk about. Excited to get into it. Benji, where do you want to start off?
Let's talk about what Donald Trump said to the New York Post. This was one of the first statements that Donald Trump made earlier this morning. He said regarding the war and boots on the ground, quote, "I don't have the yips with respect to boots on the ground. Like every president says, there will be no boots on the ground. I don't say it. I say probably don't need them, or if they were necessary. I don't have them. I don't have the yips." I don't have the yips.
The yips.
I don't have the yips. I mean, that's your statement to the, as more of our soldiers abroad are being killed and seriously wounded. That's your statement. But let me just show you more recently what Marco Rubio said. Marco Rubio held a press conference, and Rubio was asked what was so imminent that we needed to go to war right away when we did. What was so imminent that it had to happen like at that hour on Friday? Like that's when it had to go down. Wasn't there, I mean, let's be clear. The United States picked a mediator. I just want everybody to know the process. The United States picked the foreign minister of Oman to mediate the dispute between the United States and Iran. It wasn't like this guy from Oman randomly came into the picture. He was the U.S. pick. The foreign minister of Oman goes on TV early on Friday or mid-afternoon and says, hey, we have a really good update. We've made great progress. All we have to do now is iron out some of the technical stuff with the International Atomic Energy Agency on Monday to implement the deal. But we've got a deal where Iran has agreed to basically all of the demands as the mediator that I wanted. And this is a really big result. And then what he tried to even say is this is even far stronger than the deal that Obama got, because, you know, obviously the foreign minister knows who he's dealing with in Donald Trump. But he said, we've got a deal basically, but we have to wait until Monday, right? I mean, you know, still the holidays, still, you know, let's iron it out on Monday. And then the strikes happen then. The strikes happened like with a few hours after that. So Marco Rubio was asked, what was so imminent? And he goes, let me explain to you what was imminent. He said, what was imminent is that Israel was not going to stop its plan to strike Iran. So if Israel was going to strike Iran, Iran was going to strike us. So we had to strike first because Israel was going to strike Iran. Folks, I'm not even like, you're like, come on, is that what he really said? That's literally like verbatim what he said. So let's play Secretary of State Rubio explaining what he believed was imminent and why we had to attack on Friday. Let's play it.
There absolutely was an imminent threat, and the imminent threat was that we knew that if Iran was attacked, and we believed they would be attacked, that they would immediately come after us. And we were not going to sit there and absorb a blow before we responded, because the Department of War assessed that if we did that, if we waited for them to hit us first after they were attacked, and by someone else, Israel attacked them, they hit us first, and we waited for them to hit us, we would suffer more casualties and more deaths. We went proactively in a defensive way to prevent them from inflicting higher damage. Had we not done so, there would have been hearings on Capitol Hill about how we knew that this was going to happen, and we didn't act preemptively to prevent more casualties and more loss of life.
I mean, you heard him say that. Outrageous. I mean, this would be some sort of parody that you would expect in some dark comedic, but this is real life, and now our soldiers are killed because of this. We are closer, Brett. I don't want to be hyperbolic and say World War III, but let me just say this. Every nation in the world is in some way kind of in a war right now. Does that make it a World War III? But the world is at war. Whether you look at Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Afghanistan, and Pakistan, which, by the way, is also caused by Donald Trump propping up Pakistan and attacking India, and Pakistan saying that Afghanistan is now a colony of India. It's directly attributable to Donald Trump as well. Whether it's the U.S. attack on Iran, which Iran has now retaliated by attacking U.S. bases and interests and other countries' interests across the Middle East. It's fascinating in the sense that, like, you have the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, the UK was attacked in Cyprus, their base, but they're trying to avoid engaging or being involved in this war. So they're like, yeah, we're not at war. We're here defensively, but we're not going to be in this. There was a French base in the United Arab Emirates in Abu Dhabi was struck by Iran. And the French, there was rumors that they were going to send the Charles de Gaulle aircraft carrier to help the U.S. And President Macron of France made it very clear, no, we're not doing that. In the past 24 to 48 hours, Russia has released a statement showing its support of Iran and has been having a call with their foreign minister. And they did a joint statement together condemning the United States. And similarly, in China, China's foreign minister spoke to the foreign minister of Iran, and both of them issued a joint statement strongly condemning the United States. And it should be noted that over this weekend, we also learned that the United States has cut off and stopped military aid and supplies that were owed to Taiwan because Donald Trump desperately wants to keep his state visit with Xi Jinping on schedule in April. And Xi Jinping said, that $12 to $13 billion military supply and aid package that Congress passed, that is a law in the United States that's supposed to be given to protect Taiwan. You do that, I'm not inviting you here to the state visit. And Donald Trump is so thirsty for the state visit with China that he's now cut off giving weapons to Taiwan. And while all of this is going on too, America munition stockpile is being exhausted at a rapid clip. We are losing. We did not have the munitions to really go into this war in its current posture. We have it for a little bit longer, but you know who definitely doesn't have it? These Middle East countries that relied on us to give it to them. So now we're hearing, for example, from Qatar and UAE and others that they're running out of their interceptors. They're running out of the UAE is projected to exhaust its interceptor missile stock within 1 week at the current rate. Qatar within 4 days. Both are urgently seeking additional military support from the United States. And Iran continues to strike with its Shahid drones because it's effectively been at war against Ukraine, allied with Russia, building up massive stockpiles as Donald Trump was cozying up to Russia, Russia and Iran were building these Shahid drones to be used against Ukraine. And as Donald Trump was attacking Zelensky in Ukraine, Ukraine had figured out how to effectively, not perfectly, because we know that there's been a lot of Shahid drones and ballistic missiles that have been hitting targets in Ukraine, but Ukraine had to develop a military defensive structure to stop these Shahid drones and ballistic missiles, which Trump was trying to bleed Ukraine dry of. And the irony now is the United States and all of these Arab countries need Ukraine for its expertise and now how to deal with these Shahid drones and ballistic missiles when the United States and the United States was hurting Ukraine and trying to cut it off from its defensive measures. So all of this is going on. Brett, I'm going to toss it to you and Jordy in 1 second. I just want to show you. So it wasn't like a fluke that Rubio misspoke there, right? Here's Rubio again, where he brings it up on his own. He goes, I've been asked, why now? So he brings it up again, like he wants everybody to know that we went to war because Israel was going to attack Iran first, and then Iran would attack us second. And that's what they view as why it was imminent that we had to attack, because Iran was going to get attacked first. What are they even talking about? Here, play this clip.
The second question that's been asked is, why now? Well, there's two reasons why now. The first is it was abundantly clear that if Iran came under attack by anyone, the United States or Israel or anyone, they were going to respond against the United States. The orders had been delegated down to the field commanders. It was automatic, and in fact, it bared to be true, because in fact, within an hour of the initial attack on the leadership compound, the missile forces in the south and in the north, for that matter, had already been activated to launch. In fact, those had already been pre-positioned. The third is the assessment that was made that if we stood and waited for that attack to come first before we hit them, we would suffer much higher casualties. And so the president made the very wise decision. We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties and perhaps even higher those killed. And then we would all be here answering questions about why we knew that and didn't act.
No, or you can, here's a crazy one. You could tell Israel, hey, stop blackmailing us, okay? We've made progress in a negotiation, and why don't you hold off until we figure this out? Because there may be another solution. Or how about this? If you thought that you couldn't do that and we were about to go to war, maybe, just maybe, you address the American people, or maybe you go through what is required in the Constitution. You know, you go to Congress, you get authorization, you make the case about why this war is necessary. And then after the war, they said, we are doing this for regime change. It's exactly what it's, regime change. And then when it was clear that after they killed the Ayatollah, that as everybody predicted, as we've been saying, they're just going to find another Ayatollah. I mean, the Ayatollah was the spiritual leader of 300 million Shiites in the region, right? You know, there are hundreds of thousands of people in senior positions who would want to have the Ayatollah role. So if you kill the Ayatollah and you make him a martyr in the community of the 300 million Shiites in the region, they're just going to now find someone more extreme. And I think more significantly as well, the nation of Iran was actually moving and progressing with a younger population towards, slowly, but towards democracy, or towards at least reforms and towards changes. The Ayatollah was 85 years old, 86 years old. So the Ayatollah wasn't going to be around for a long time anyway. We saw earlier in the year with the protests that were taking place that there was a hunger and a thirst to change the regime. Trump told those protesters, and this is not getting reported a lot, go out there, we've got your back, when our military was not even positioned to help. And then thousands, tens of thousands, perhaps 30,000 protesters got massacred. So now they don't believe Trump and America's got their back. And now Trump and Lindsey Graham and all of these individuals, these warmongers, are like, we're not going to do anything. The people better rise up. Do it yourself. Well, they tried to do it in January, and you told them to do it, and then you got them all killed. You got 30,000 of them killed. And now, actually, some of the progress that's been made in Iran to try to, turn it perhaps in a direction, reform it, modernize it, make it, and democratic may not be the right word, but to modernize it and to instill more freedoms, that's now been set back because now you have Donald Trump and Netanyahu beaming their images and their speeches into Iranian television after they hacked into it, as though they're going to be greeted as welcoming heroes. You think that you're welcoming heroes? You think that the people of Iran want a Netanyahu and Trump proxy to lead Iran? So you've turned off your natural allies. You betrayed them last month, and you've now further entrenched and empowered the most extremist elements of the Islamic regime. That's what, just so everybody knows, that's what's actually happening.
Truly a worst case scenario situation that we are in right now, and we're being led by idiots. And I want to be clear that this administration, the Trump administration, they're lying about everything. They're lying about the justifications. They're lying about that argument by Rubio right there was one of the most circuitous, absurdist, most gaslighting explanations that you could even come up with. If he wrote that, to Ben's point, if he wrote that in a TV show, people would be like, that makes no sense. That's a little beyond the pale here. For him to say it's preemptive because if they were attacked, they would have attacked back. Yeah, obviously. Then you could justify any military action. You could justify any war under that theory right there. And these are the same people who brought us into Iraq. These are the same people who brought us into Afghanistan. They're getting the band back together, folks. I mean, and if you look at the people who are pushing this, and Ben just named a few, right? Rubio, Lindsey Graham, who gets horny for war when he's on TV. It's a very bizarre thing to watch Lindsey Graham speak about war. And then you see somebody like a Scott Jennings, who is the Trump Spox on CNN, who CNN pays, and he goes on there and he lies to the American people. And he says, we had to do this because they had missiles pointed at the United States and they were about to start bombing U.S. military bases, so we had to act. Well, that was a lie, but you expect that from the guy who is the same person who pushed the weapons of mass destruction lie back in the day. And now the same people are pushing the same crap, and now they have these kind of MAGA propagandists online who are far too willing to go along with it, even though they just spent the past few years going, America first, no new wars. Kamala wants to send your kids into war. Kamala's going to get your kids killed in war. You're doing exactly that. These people are masters of projection, and it just shows how big of frauds they are. And I really think that Trump thought that he could just go in there, kill the Ayatollah, everything would be great, greeted as liberators. Doesn't that sound familiar? He could exit, leave them to deal with the mess. He'll deal with the next kind of next in command in Iran and go on with his life as if nothing happened. But now there is a full-scale regional war unfolding that is extending, as Ben said, virtually to the entire world at the moment. And you could tell that Trump has no idea what the hell he's doing here by just listening to Donald Trump speak. He speaks to he's talking to all the networks right now. He tells each of them a different thing. He says, one, this is going to take 2 weeks. One, this is going to take 4 weeks. This is probably going to take at least 6 weeks. I'll take as long as I want. Then he said to, I think it was the New York Times or CNN, he said this to CNN. He said that the biggest surprise so far of this war is that Iran began to attack Arab countries after the United States and Israel attacked Iran. This was like Iran's whole thing that they said they would do if the United States or Israel attacked them, because these other Arab countries host United States bases where a lot of this is coming from. And so the fact that Trump is surprised by that action shows how unprepared that he was for what's to come here. This is I just can't stress how irresponsible this is, and the lies that we are seeing from this regime. And I'm talking about the Trump regime here. I mean, could you imagine here at home if we were under attack and you turn on your TV and you have Vladimir Putin or the Ayatollah going, now's your time, take to the streets. I don't think everyone's going to be like super psyched to see Putin on TV saying, I'm your new leader. And Trump thinks that he and Netanyahu are going to be the people who are going to mobilize the Iranian people. I know instantly we saw a lot of videos, a lot of imagery, and a lot of it was also pushed out of Iranians celebrating. And obviously they're going to be excited that the Ayatollah is gone. But now we're seeing the other side of things in Iran, which are millions and millions of pro-regime protesters taking to the streets, chanting death to America. And this is happening in countries throughout the region, right? We're seeing groups in Iraq attacking Americans at American consulates. In Pakistan, we're seeing this spread right now completely out of control. And Trump has been completely caught flat-footed. And he's really risked the United States' national security here. He's put our troops at risk. He's put us at risk. And he's put everyone in the region, frankly, at risk.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to me, Brett, that's it right there. The scariest part of this entire war so far, in my opinion, is there is no plan. There's no plan. The entire war right now with Iran, it lacks any clear exit strategy or transition plan at all. And unlike any regime changes in the past when the U.S. interfered, and I'm not saying in all cases it was previously right or done correctly, but at least there was a clear successor. This time around, it's just simply the destruction of infrastructure and mass killings without a roadmap for what comes next. Remember, there are 90 million people living in Iran. And our plan is like, all right, y'all figure it out amongst yourselves now. Then you have the financial burden of all of this. And to put it lightly, like, these missiles aren't cheap. War isn't cheap. I think in the first 48 hours of Operation Epic Fury, I mean, it's all just so embarrassing. But analysts that estimate that there have been about $600 million spent in those first 48 hours, in the first day alone, between the use of the stealth bombers, the hundreds of cruise missiles, and then the intelligence operations. And then beyond the financial costs, which is a biggie, the cost of war that's being completely ignored by Trump and MAGA, and actually almost in fact glorified in like a really sadistic way, is the cost of human life. According to the latest reports from the U.S. Central Command, there are multiple service members that have already been killed. Who knows if we're getting even the accurate data, but we already know there's a handful that have already been killed. And what's Trump's stance? President Bone Spurs himself. It's a direct quote here. Sadly, there will likely be more. That's the way it is. There will likely be more before it ends. As he posts away from his hotel in Florida. How weird is that? He's at Mar-a-Lago filming videos and posting away. And he's telling you that more casualties and deaths for U.S. soldiers are expected. Just expect that. So much for the peacetime president, right? What a farce that was. I know we never fell for it here. We, the collective, we at the MeidasTouch Network, but that was all such bullshit. So look, between the economic fallout, the casualties we're seeing and are going to keep seeing, and the clear lack of any actual plan, the American people have to be furious. This has been a complete disaster for the Trump regime, Ben.
He treats all of this like a reality TV show, and he picks people not for their intelligence or their planning. He picks them either the most vile person, but who he views to be central casting. But he used that term when he was speaking with Fox today as well. He's speaking with Bret Baier. And after this horrible press conference by Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Dan Kane, Donald Trump said, right out of central casting, those two. They look right out of central casting. And it's a small thing that he said, but you could extrapolate that. And that really is his worldview, and also his worldview on this war. And the way he kind of views everything, it is inconsistent, it is incongruent, it is contradictory. But he played this out as some Hollywood movie where he was going to be welcomed as some conquering hero, and he was going to show Putin and Xi Jinping how strong he was, and that he was going to do it. And look what he did in Venezuela, and he was going to do Iran, and then he was going to do Cuba, and then he was going to go around, and he was going to declare that he's the strongest. And it's like, dude, you don't even understand this region at all. and you could say, well, what are all these people doing at the State Department? Why do we have tens of thousands of people working at the state? What were they doing every day? And all these people at the CIA and all these people that, all these people who have been fired, what are they doing? This is what they've been doing. They've been preparing every day to make sure that who's ever the commander in chief and whoever the commander in chief surrounds themselves with has the best intelligence and the best information. And, occasionally when you wing it, just like I'm sure in your life, when you wing something, you can occasionally get lucky winging it, but eventually it comes back to you. And the karma of not planning and thinking things through, the karma of attacking your allies and then expecting that they're going to help you, right? All of that comes back to hurt you. And that's why everything that Trump has done from the day this horrific term started to now has created the circumstances that make this the worst thing ever. I mean, you could even talk about the tariffs against the world. Everything's interconnected now, right? Whether it's the tariffs against the world that turned away our allies, right? And how Pakistan and India, and how Pakistan tried to cozy up to Donald Trump and Trump attacked India, severed our relationship there. India strengthens its ties with Russia. Pakistan feels emboldened and they invest in Donald Trump's crypto. Doge, right? How Doge ripped to shreds our State Department and Trump fired the CIA people. How Trump's demolition of the FBI, including in the past 2 weeks when Kash Patel has fired a lot of FBI agents, the main counterintelligence group at the FBI that investigates and that deals with foreign threats, all their leadership was fired 2 weeks ago. The CI-12 group from the Washington field office, the counterintelligence group, they were all fired last week by Kash Patel. And all these moves, Trump sucking up to Putin, Trump isolating Ukraine, Trump turning, it has created a situation now that once he did this Iran invasion, all those other things are now completely caught up to him. Iran has shut down the Strait of Hormuz. That means oil prices will be. The last thing I'm thinking about is it's not the last thing, but like my bigger concern is the lives of our troops, our safety, security, life. But let's talk about the reality of it. We're shutting down the Strait of Hormuz. Gas prices are going to be skyrocketing right now. When gas prices skyrocket and our bond markets are impacted, that means mortgage rates increase significantly as well. Inflation's going to skyrocket. This is going to have a cascading effect on everything. And truly the question, and I'm not trying to scare or be hyperbolic though, is what's going to happen with the rest of the world? Again, I avoid the language World War III. I avoid that language, but the world is at war right now. That is undisputed. And how do you untangle this? I mean, you have one of the big diplomats in Iran who was negotiating with Trump, this guy, Ali Lanaraji. And he's saying, we don't want to negotiate with the U.S. Why would we negotiate? He's saying America's policy is now Israel first over America. And he says, Ali Laranjani says, Trump's wishful thinking has dragged the whole region into an unnecessary war, and now he is rightly worried about more American casualties. It is indeed very sad that he is sacrificing American treasure and blood to advance Netanyahu's illegitimate expansionist ambitions. He says Trump has betrayed America first to adopt Israel first. And then he says no negotiations. We will not negotiate with the United States.
Ben, let me say this. Why would they negotiate with the United States? Because from my vantage point right now, all those negotiations that we've seen over the past few months were a complete decoy. How could you argue that they weren't a decoy? They were in the middle of the negotiations when Trump attacked Iran, when Trump and Israel did this operation in Iran. And at a point where the Omani leader said that we were about to make a deal here, or that Iran had offered far more than was even offered during the Obama nuclear deal. I think he said something like that to try to really sell it to Donald Trump. And now those were in the final hours. So I think he knew they there that what Trump was thinking. And you have, Trump coming out there and Hegseth today being like, we just couldn't make a deal with them. They just left the room. They couldn't handle it. They refused. They wouldn't take yes for an answer. We know that's bullshit because we know that they lie about everything. And we have a mediator who was in the room who was picked by the United States to be there, who was telling us the opposite of what the Trump regime has been telling us. And so in the middle of these negotiations, as we are about to actually get a deal, as Iran is making these concessions from what we know, that's when Donald Trump attacks. That's when the bombings start. So how do you enter into the negotiation period at all if Donald Trump attacks mid-negotiation? Like, could you imagine? How does that open up the door for diplomacy ever?
Exactly.
Why would you do that?
It's why you need credible leaders. It's why you need adults in the room at all times, especially when you're dealing with this. Ben, you talk about winging it, right? Like most people wing maybe a meeting, maybe a homework assignment. I'm going to wing it. What we're seeing with Trump and the Trump regime, they're winging a war. There is no plan. And American troops are going to die. And it's going to be on Trump and this regime.
By the way, this is how Donald Trump negotiated when he was a slimy, fraudulent real estate guy, right? This is why he's a fraud. He's a felon, right? He would do versions of this, obviously not in war, but like he would rip up contracts and bad faith negotiate and undermine people, and that was his reputation was not as a deal maker. His reputation was a scumbag criminal. Like that's how he was known. Scumbag, criminal, con artist. That his life was of a scumbag. And he manages to con people. It's wild. But now it's the ultimate karma, and sadly the American people are dragged into this thing. Anyway, it was a long segment. We'll take our first break of the show. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about Donald Trump's press conference, Hegseth's press conference. Then I got to show you the depositions of Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton and what really went down now that we have those video depositions. All right, let's take our first quick break of the show.
Ever wake up sweaty, freezing, or just uncomfortable? The temperature in your bedroom can make or break your sleep. That's why I switched to Miracle Made sheets. They're inspired by NASA technology and use silver-infused temperature-regulating fabric to help you sleep perfectly all night long. Miracle Made sheets feel just as good, if not better, than sheets you'd find at a 5-star hotel, but without the steep price tag. Smooth, breathable, and ridiculously comfortable. Thanks to their antibacterial silver technology, Miracle Made sheets stay cleaner and fresher up to 3 times longer than regular sheets. That means fewer odors, fewer wash cycles, and way less laundry. All that hidden bacteria in regular sheets, it can clog your pores and cause breakouts. Miracle Made's antibacterial design helps you sleep cleaner and clearer night after night. Miracle Made sheets are crafted with NASA-inspired silver-infused fabric that helps regulate your body temperature. Hot sleeper, cold sleeper, it doesn't matter. These sheets help keep you in the comfort zone all night long. Upgrade your sleep or give the gift of better rest. Go to trymiracle.com/Meidas to try Miracle Made sheets today. You'll save over 40%, and when you use the promo code Meidas, you'll get an extra 20% off plus a free 3-piece towel set. They make for an amazing gift, and with a 30-day money-back guarantee, there's no risk. That's trymiracle.com/Meidas, code Meidas at checkout. Thanks to Miracle Made for sponsoring this episode. Let's talk about what's really happening right now. New data shows financial stress is at an all-time high. Millions of Americans are at a breaking point. Debt maxed out, no extra money, no room to breathe. And this isn't just lower-income households anymore. Middle-class families are hitting their limit too. This isn't reckless spending. Everyday people running out of options. So if debt has been weighing on you, you're not alone. And when it comes to debt, waiting usually makes it worse. Interest piles up, minimum payments keep you stuck. You don't need another loan or bankruptcy. You need a strategy. That's why I like Done with Debt. They build a smart, personalized plan around you. They're experienced at knowing what it takes to get you the biggest reductions possible. Whether you owe $10,000 or much more, Done with Debt has one clear goal. Lower what you owe so you keep more of your paycheck every month. Start with a free consultation. It takes minutes. Share your situation and find out what's possible. You don't have to stay stuck. Go to donewithdebt.com. That's donewithdebt.com. Shout out to our sponsors. Links in descriptions of both the YouTube and the audio. Use the links, use the codes. If there's an exit survey, let them know we sent you. Miracle Made has been with us literally from day one. So definitely check them out if you're in the need for new sheets or towel sets. Benji, I before I toss it to you, I really do want to give you your flowers because big bro, you have been absolutely crushing it with this coverage. I fell asleep here between Friday and Saturday when everything started to go on. I wake up and so I'm on the East Coast, brothers are on the West Coast, and all of a sudden Ben's live with like 30,000 plus people watching him reporting on the events of everything that was going down. And by the way, this is like 2 a.m. Pacific time and it's just been nonstop from there. So Benji, Brett, you too. I know there's been a lot of editing over the weekend, and to our whole network of producers and editors, thank you guys for locking in and bringing this pro-democracy community all of the facts and data and receipts, everything that we always aspire to do here, and using the megaphone of now the 6 million subscribers that we have here on our way to 7 million. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, the information that is so desperately needed. So Benji, seriously, man, great work.
Well, I appreciate it, Jordy. Again, special thanks to all our team, our staff, the great researchers. Our team does a really good job. I also want to give a shout out. There have been a lot of other accounts, a lot of these open source intelligence accounts that, regardless of whether I agree or disagree with them, on certain types of things, that in war, they tend to do a very good job searching through a lot of the Telegram chats and the local chats where a lot of this information is coming from cell phone cameras and local videos of people in the countries that share them on Telegram and other social media platforms. And then a lot of these open source accounts bring them public, bring them to the public as well. And then one of the things that we have to make clear is there's so much bad info out there and like AI and things that are trying. So then we have to sort through to make sure we're giving you the accurate information so that when I say, for example, Ayatollah is killed, I know there was a lot of people who were saying, I got a lot of comments that I was wrong. You're not accurate. Other people are saying it's not true. I mean, that's just one example. And I was like, no, by the time I report it, I feel very confident from a myriad of sources, independent, third party. There's an exhaustive process that I hope that we use on these things, and we take the responsibility of the size of this platform very, very seriously in how we report this information to you. Unlike, say, state regime media, which calls itself Fox. So let me share with you just so you can see it. I'm not going to play you multiple clips. I just want you to see with things that are not going according to plan, with gas prices now going to spike, and with all of the problems that are now confronted with inflation rising. What are they doing on state regime media? Here's how Jesse Waters was talking about it before. Let's play it.
It's hard when you don't have any weapons and you live in a police state. So Trump will try to shape what happens on the ground from the carriers, and I'm sure the CIA is going to be passing a lot of cash around. How does this affect the American people? Well, the market opened lower, and then it snapped back and closed about flat. Oil prices are up, gas prices at the pump, they're going to jump, and mortgage rates are already ticking up. So in the short term, you're going to see a little inflation. But if it's a successful operation, prices are going to go way, way down, and the stock market is going to rip. Russia's not going to have a supply of drones that they're using to just decimate Ukraine, so it's going to push them towards peace. And the Chinese aren't going to be able to suck up all that cheap sanctioned Iranian oil. And we'll have full control over the oil-rich Middle East, and then we can pivot to the Pacific and stare down Beijing. But until then, you just pray for the boys, you pray for the president, and hope everything goes well.
I mean, truly deranged, right, Brett?
It's such despicable propaganda, and that's what the Fox viewers are being fed, and it really does. I'm getting PTSD style flashbacks to those days when Fox was pushing the Iraq war on everybody. I mean, it's very similar tactics with sometimes some different characters, some of the same characters, but just the way they're framing
the stupider version of that, though. Like, it's like
that. So much stupider. Like they make the Bush crew look like Einstein, right? They make the Bush crew look like absolute geniuses. We're dealing with buffoons here who, like I said earlier in this episode, I think they all think they're like in some sort of B action movie, you know, and it's embarrassing. And I don't know if you caught, Pete Hegseth this morning, but everything that Pete Hegseth said sounded like he was trying to like say a one-liner from an action movie. And it's like, dude, just be honest with the American people. Like, you're not making any sense, and you seem
so-called regime change, but the regime sure did change.
Yeah, like what did that mean? You practice that in front of the mirror, tough guy? Like, when I watched that performance, and I'm going to call it a performance, I felt like I was watching Colin Jost on Saturday Night Live doing Pete Hegseth. It was that exaggerated, and that it was a parody of itself when you were watching him. And then he had the nerve to say something like, "President Trump didn't start this war, but he will end it." And it's like, no, he literally started this war. Literally started this war. But it shows you how this propaganda works, because you see a lot of these Trump people just start regurgitating it like the sheep they are. All these people who are like, no war, no Middle East wars. We're not going to get entangled in any of this crap. That's what Kamala's going to do to us. And slamming Biden when Biden didn't actually get the United States into any wars. In fact, took us out of wars. Now all of a sudden they're like, we've actually been at war with Iran for 47 years. You didn't know that? Iran actually started this war 47 years ago. That's like a line that I see people online using. It's like, okay, don't gaslight me. Don't lie to my face. You've now just brought us into this massive war in the Middle East with zero plan of action. It should never have been done. The United States should not be doing crap like this. And you could run back the tape of Gaddafi, run back the tape of Saddam Hussein, go back to all of these times when the United States overthrew leaders in the Middle East and then thought that they'd be greeted as liberators and be able to stabilize the region and that everything would be A-okay. And tell me what happens next in that story, because I've seen this story far too many times.
I actually feel for Colin Jost. Like, I don't know how he's going to parody the Hegseth moment this Saturday, because it was a parody in itself. It's disturbing. I mean, the phony platform that Trump won on, that he's getting a pass on, was the no new wars. He was going to be the quote unquote peace president. I mean, it is such. That's why I say, though, it's $1 trillion propaganda operation that is consistently beaming misinformation and lies into the American people. And it is scary to see what Fox News and what all of those other right-wing MAGA outlets get their base to believe, just simply for the fact that they control the airwaves. It's terrifying.
Trump is literally a parody, in the most extreme sense, of the creature boogeymen that MAGA created to go after Democrats. Like, he's quite literally all of it. He covers up the pedo ring. The cabal is in the Oval Office. He's close to Epstein. He starts wars everywhere.
He's building a deep state.
He uses government to quite literally tread on people, masked agents going through states and terrorizing people. He takes away your guns if you have, like, he says that he's not for you having permits or licenses to carry your guns. He's against free speech in the most obvious and authoritarian sense. You literally go through everything. And he is the most extreme example of the thing that they claimed that this is what he was going to do to stop those people. But it's important to note that that's literally the way authoritarianism works. The quote about the devil's greatest trick is making you believe he never existed. The authoritarian's greatest trick is to convince you that the authoritarian is the person who is out there to stop the authoritarians. And that's how they get into power. They have a sixth sense of people's fears and desires, and they know how to prey on them because they are a predator class. And that's exactly what Trump and this entire regime is. I'll just show people a short clip of Hegseth where he held this presser earlier in the day where he goes, "This is not a so-called regime change war." but the regime sure did change. Actually, it didn't. You killed the Ayatollah, and now the regime is still in power, and they're out there launching Shahid drones against all of the neighboring countries and U.S. Air Force bases and interests. So that's not even true. But go ahead. There, play this clip.
Iran was building powerful missiles and drones to create a conventional shield for their nuclear blackmail ambitions. Let me say that again. A conventional shield for their nuclear blackmail ambitions. Our bases, our people, our allies, all in their crosshairs. Iran had a conventional gun to our head as they tried to lie their way to a nuclear bomb. It almost worked under Obama and his terrible deal, but not under this president. Turns out the regime who chanted death to America and death to Israel was gifted death from America and death from Israel. This is not a so-called regime change war, but the regime sure did change, and the world is better off for it.
They put that through ChatGPT. I truly don't even know. It's kind of nonsensical.
I think Jost just reads it verbatim. I think that's his only way in this week on SNL. Just read that whole. I mean, it's
like a Sarah Palin situation here.
This was a conventional shield for nuclear blackmail ambitions. Let me repeat that again. I don't need you to repeat. It's a nonsensical sentence to begin with. A conventional shield for nuclear ambitions. And let me say this. They had a conventional gun to what's the why conventional? What words are you even trying to put together? And then he's like, Obama did a terrible deal. Obama, we're in 2026. You're attacking Obama in 2026? Like, really? That's where we're at. Obama.
Don't worry, Ben. They attacked Joe Biden also in the press conference too, because just to really kind of rehash the greatest hits of the Trump regime and taking no responsibility. It's great.
They chanted death to America, and now America and Israel gifted them death.
But you see how they keep also moving the goalposts here, right? Because before it was about nuclear weapons, and Donald Trump said, we've totally, completely obliterated the nuclear program. Then they started rehashing the nuclear argument again for this war. They were immediately called out by it. They were, because everyone was like, didn't you just say you completely obliterated the nuclear program like months ago? And all the people who have intelligence kind of were leaking information. Even Ted Cruz went on television yesterday, and Ted Cruz said there's no evidence that Iran had a nuclear program that was a threat to the United States, none whatsoever. So even Ted Cruz publicly disagreeing with the Trump administration and saying there was no intelligence to that effect. So they move the goalpost, and then they just make it missiles, that they have missiles. And then they make the argument that Iran is not allowed to have any weapons whatsoever, and that Iran having weapons generally, just any weapons at all, is a threat to the region, is a threat to the United States, and therefore justifies this war. So you see how every day they continue to make this stuff up. All the intelligence also showed, by the way, that there was no imminent threat on U.S. bases, no imminent threat on anything. That's why Rubio did that absurd argument that we played for you earlier. That was a step removed. It wasn't that there was a threat that Iran was going to strike the United States bases. It was that Israel was going to strike Iran, and then Iran was going to retaliate. That's a much different story. And if you're the United States, as Ben said, you should be able to go to your ally, in this case, Israel, and say, maybe don't do that. We're in negotiations. We're actually almost got this thing across the finish line right now. We almost got this deal. So maybe hold off and let us bring peace to the region. I mean, you could say things like that, but you have all these people instead pushing for war. They want this.
Well, what happened, I mean, look, the negotiations progressed, I think, more than anyone actually thought it would. And it seems, if you look at the situation, the moment Israel saw that the U.S. may make a deal with Iran and that this moved in the right direction in terms of an actual peace deal, that's when it seemed that things were actually paradoxically ramped up for the war. Because we can't have this deal. We can't have you do this deal. We're going in right now. And as I said before, all of the things that Donald Trump has done in this disastrous term that we've been covering since last year, all of this stuff now entangles him. And Netanyahu gives him a call and so we're going in. We're going in. We're going in. Don't care. We're attacking. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Right? And a strong president stares down Netanyahu or whoever and says, good luck, we're out. Call their bluff back, right? But Donald Trump has been so enamored and so outplayed at every step of this to turn America into a proxy of Israel, almost the reverse than what it was even before, that he's like, okay. And Netanyahu has a psychological profile on Donald. He knew exactly when to do it, how to do it, what buttons to push of Donald Trump, and how to get Donald Trump nervous. Netanyahu can make minced meat of Donald Trump psychologically. Trump is not, he's easily manipulatable. How this is all connected, we'll show you clips of Hillary Clinton in a little bit. But remember, she warned about this in the debates in 2015 and 2016, how weak he was and how he can so easily be manipulated. And she said, look, if you can manipulate him in a tweet, what do you think Putin can do? She didn't say this, but what do you think a Netanyahu can do? What do you think a Xi Jinping can do? Xi Jinping knows that Donald Trump, more than anything, it's crazy, just wants to show up in Beijing for a state visit and have all of those Chinese soldiers, thousands of them, stand at attention and march perfectly with the weapons. And that's what Donald Trump wants. He wants to look at the Chinese soldiers up and down and see them stand the way they do. And he wants them to say, like look at him like he's a conquering person. That's all Trump wants. And Xi Jinping knows that more than any geostrategic. Donald Trump's willing to give up our classified semiconductor chips. He's willing to give up the most highly classified chips to China, not provide the military aid we did a deal with that Donald Trump broke, right? Sound like a pattern. The guy breaks his deals. Taiwan dependent on our military deals. Especially right now, you would think, probably would it be nice if they had it, because what's vulnerable? All of Asia is vulnerable right now as a result of what Donald Trump is now doing in the Middle East. China could take Taiwan easily if it wanted to. And now Donald Trump has assured Xi Jinping that we're not going to give Taiwan weapons. Why? Because Donald Trump wants a state visit. Me. They all know how to play him so easily. And just think about this. How embarrassing this is for the United States, regardless of what political party you are. How embarrassing. And again, this is where it connects to the stuff that we were telling you about before. Like, remember when Donald Trump would say, I stopped the war with India and Pakistan. He would cosplay that he stopped the war. And then you'd have Modi and people saying, no, you didn't. You didn't do that. I have a deal with this country. Like, we don't have a deal. Now that we're in a hot war, a real war with Iran right now, a real war, Donald Trump says regarding Iran, that Donald Trump said he agreed to resume negotiations. They want to talk, and I have agreed to talk, he said. The United States president, the president of the United States, says the Iranians, have agreed to talk. I'm agreeing to resume negotiations. Okay? For Iran, for their leadership right now, from the Islamic Republic, to say, we will not negotiate with the United States in response to Donald Trump saying that. Isn't that the most obvious sign of utter weakness? That Iran doesn't want to negotiate with you. They think that they've got you on the ropes, that they're willing to publicly mock you and say, we don't want to talk to you after you've said the United States wants to talk to you. Think about it. That's unprecedented right there. That's unprecedented. So yeah, France, their aircraft carrier, the Charles de Gaulle, they're like, we ain't bringing that in the region. Good luck. UK, they're like, yeah. I mean, we'll you're kind of on your own there, Donald. Like, we'll be here for defensive purposes if we get hit again. And behind the scenes, Macron's foreign minister and Starmer's foreign, they were speaking with Iran's foreign minister. That they were chatting and they were saying, yeah, if you keep hitting us, we're going to have to strike you back. But we need you to say you're not striking our military bases, and we're not going to get involved in this thing. Why would we? That's happening behind the scenes right now. It's why we've made such a priority at the MeidasTouch Network when no one else was really doing it in our news media here, to focus on international news. All those videos that we've been educating you on and we've been discussing about the foreign policy stuff, it's all related right now to this. And so I hope that's given you a deeper insight into what's taking place. All right.
And Ben, real quick, of course, no one wants to negotiate with Trump. He played his hand. He is the worst negotiator you could be. He doesn't have the cards anymore, Ben. He played his hand. Why would anyone want to engage in any good faith talks if he's going to be a maniac the way he's been a maniac? Tell me who. You teach, Ben, you teach these all the time. Is this negotiation 101 what Donald Trump is doing, or is it the most pathetic type of negotiations, quite frankly, you've ever seen?
But he was always the most pathetic negotiator. It was always the most pathetic imaginable his whole damn life. And, right now, we'll talk about what's going on too when we come back with, there's so much to discuss. I also want to show you, as I mentioned, this is Operation Epstein Fury and the Jeffrey Epstein war. So I do want to show you that these MAGA Republicans were covering up the video depositions of the Clintons, and now they released it while the world's on fire, hoping we don't pay attention to it. But we posted the full depositions on our YouTube channel, and I'll discuss some of the highlights here as well. Let's go to our last break of the show. Help us get to 7 million subscribers. Go to store.MeidasTouch.com for the MeidasTouch gear. Go to MeidasPlus.com for the Substack. We'll be right back.
My cat hears the news with me every morning, and honestly, she handles it way better than I do. Probably because she starts her day with Smalls. This podcast is sponsored by Smalls. Is the news making you want to cuddle up with your cat? Smalls fresh cat food is protein-packed recipes made with preservative-free, 100% human-grade ingredients you'd find in your fridge. And it's delivered right to your door. That's why Cats.com named Smalls their best overall cat food. For a limited time, get 60% off your first order plus free shipping when you head to smalls.com/Meidas. Starting with Smalls is easy. Just share info about your cat's diet, health, and food preferences. Then Smalls puts together a personalized meal plan for your cat. No more picking between random brands at the store. Smalls has the right food to satisfy any cat's cravings. Last time I fed my cat Smalls, she loved it. Legitimately, we did a taste test, put 2 food bowls side by side, and she immediately went to Smalls. My cat actually follows me around every morning until I give her Smalls. Still not a believer in Smalls? Forbes ranked Smalls the best overall cat food, while BuzzFeed said my cats went completely ballistic for this stuff. Smalls is possibly my favorite sponsor ever because my cat's breath is so much better and her fur is so much softer ever since I switched to Smalls. This year's winter coat has been so soft and healthy. After switching to Smalls, 88% of cat owners reported overall health improvements. That's a big deal. And the team at Smalls is so confident that your cat will love their product that you can try it risk-free. That means they will refund you if your cat won't eat their food. So stop guessing which meals will upset their stomach. For a limited time, because you are a MeidasTouch podcast listener, get 60% off your first order plus free shipping when you head to smalls.com/Meidas. One last time, that's 60% off your first order plus free shipping when you head to smalls.com/Meidas. ED is more common than you think and simpler to treat than ever. Through HIMS, you can connect online with a licensed provider to access personalized treatment options discreetly and on your terms. Through HIMS, you can access personalized prescription treatment options for ED if prescribed. HIMS offers access to ED treatment options ranging from personalized products to trusted generics that cost 95% less than brand names if prescribed. You shouldn't have to go out of your way to feel like yourself. HIMS brings expert care straight to you with 100% online access to personalized treatments that put your goals first. This isn't a one-size-fits-all care that forgets you in the waiting room. It's your health and goals put first, with real medical providers making sure that you get what you need to get results. Think of HIMS as your digital front door that gets you back to your old self with simple 100% online access to trusted treatments for ED and more, all in one place.
To get simple online access to personalized, affordable care for ED, hair loss, weight loss, and more, visit hims.com/Meidas. That's hims.com/Meidas for your free online visit. hims.com/Meidas. Featured products include compounded drug products, which the FDA does not approve or verify for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. See website for details. Restrictions and important safety information. Actual price will depend on product and subscription plan.
Shout out to our sponsors. Links in the description of both the YouTube and the audio. Use the links, use the codes. If there's an exit survey, let them know we sent you. Benji, real quick, gave you your flowers during the last break, but I'm coming back around. I've listened to and watched all of your content from the weekend, and I noticed there was a couple subscribe now as we get to 6 million subscribers that squeezed through as you were closing some of those videos. I'll give you grace this week because we just hit 6 million, but I'm gonna be really on you if you don't correct that to on our way to 7 million subscribers.
I've said, you have to understand with the muscle memory, so many of my videos are muscle memory. Like sometimes I'm talking, I don't even know that I'm talking. Like that's how muscle memory it is. Like when I'm doing my videos, I know words are coming out of my mouth and I know they're on point, but the reps happen so frequently. So by the time I've said, I mean, how many videos did I probably say subscribe for 6 million, or help us get to 6 million? I would venture to guess several thousand, imagine every day.
I'm not, just to be clear, I'm not actually pressing you on this. So it's all good. The Meidas Mighty, you're excused, Ben. You get a pass just for this week though, Ben, just for this week.
So I'm not being deposed and
you're not.
I should just answer and say, yes, Jordy, I will. Look, from United Arab Emirates in Abu Dhabi and to Qatar in Doha, to Bahrain, to Jordan, to Kuwait, to Saudi Arabia, anywhere with the U.S. Embassy, with U.S. interests, with tourist areas that are attended by U.S. military or U.S. citizens, it's now under attack. And as we said before, Iran has been in a war footing for a very long time. Those drones that they've built and their ballistic missile arsenal has basically been fueling Russia's invasion of Ukraine, right? I mean, let me be very, very, very clear. The regime in Iran is horrific. I hope, I pray that the people in Iran can live in freedom. I know so many great Persian people, the Iranian people who love democracy are just, I've had so many friends and I know how the revolution has impacted their lives and displaced them. And so I hope if you are Persian, Iranian watching this, I truly care about everything that you're going through. And I know that it must feel and must be to see the Ayatollah who's caused your family so much pain, for that Ayatollah to be killed and for others in the regime to be taken out. What that must feel like and be like after the terror and torture that they've put you through. I think about how recently the 30,000 protesters in Iran who wanted democracy, who Trump said, go out there, I've got your back. We're going to save you. Go out there and protest. And they listened to him. And 30,000 Iranians got massacred because they listened to him. You realize that this has an impact. His words don't matter. If he says, go out now, take it back, they remember, you told us that last month and you got us all slaughtered. 30,000 dead, frankly, because of Trump saying, go out and do it. I've got your back. However, regime change, whatever the hell we're doing, we're not even doing regime change. I don't know what I don't think anybody really knows what Trump and Rubio and Hegseth are doing. I don't think they know what they're doing. This ain't it, whatever's happening. This is making the situation worse for people who want democracy in Iran, worse for the region, worse for America. And we have so many things going on in America right now that we have to address. right? You can give it a mantra, America first, this, that, and the other. Don't use Trump's fraudulent mantra. Just talk about what's really happening here. As since Donald Trump's taken office, things are so much worse here. People are psychologically tortured living paycheck to paycheck if they're lucky enough to have a paycheck. People are unable to afford rent, definitely can't afford an actual home or a mortgage. Are you kidding me? They have their children or grandchildren living with them and they see no hope for the future. Healthcare has been ripped away, not to mention ICE and Border Patrol, Gestapo here in this Trump regime, terrorizing, killing, and torturing people here in the United States. That's what you have happening here. And so when we're told we don't have the money, sorry, we can't do healthcare. We don't got money. Sorry, we can't help you. Trump will lie and say, I'm going to give you Doge dividend checks and tariff rebate checks. Heck, when he stole your money with unlawful tariffs, he's not even willing to refund it when ordered by courts to refund it. I mean, they argued against the Federal Circuit Court ordering that the money be returned. The Federal Circuit Court today, I know in all the news, this one gets lost, rejected the Trump regime's argument that they wanted to delay giving tariff refunds for 7 years. That's what Trump argued. 7 years, 5 years, they cited cases saying we're not going to give these refunds. They argued to the courts that if they lost in the Supreme Court, they would have to automatically give refunds. But then they broke that deal also. So you have all of this going on, and now we're doing some sort of fake regime change war where Trump just wants to find someone in the Islamic Republic who likes him. The regime they don't like you. In fact, they hate you. And you killed their spiritual leader, as dastardly and despicable as he is. You killed their spiritual, you killed the person who represents 300 million Shiites. You killed them. What do you think they're going to do? What do you think the reaction is? And so now the reports, and I always want to be diligent and careful in reporting. I'll do a whole other video on this later. The embassy in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, the United States embassy engulfed in flames. Looks like there was a direct hit right there as Iran attacked the embassy in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Multiple explosions in the vicinity. And this is, folks, this is the tip of the iceberg right here. This is, I know Trump in Trump's own world, this episode he moves on to the next episode and he goes to Cuba, right? That's what they were talking about. This episode's over of The Apprentice. He does the next episode. This episode ain't over. You've just engulfed the United States in the Gulf, and you've destroyed the futures, even worse, of Americans. This is as horrific as it can be. And if you're hearing in the background too, my baby girl crying. I mean, she doesn't understand what I'm saying, I don't think. But she's probably crying because she wants food or a bottle. And she's with her mom and her grandma. But I think about the future generations. I think about how much more of a dangerous world we're going to be in. I really think of Trump bringing us closer to World War III. And Brett, I know I said I'm going to show us, the Clinton depots, and I will in a second, but I just wanted to point that out.
No, it's true. It's a dangerous world, and Donald Trump has made it more dangerous. There's no doubt about it. And we're in a very ugly place.
I'll show you some of the depositions. Let me show you a portion of this deposition, which I think was one of the main reasons that MAGA Republicans wanted to cover up. Remember, they rushed out and said Bill Clinton exonerated Donald Trump, as though Bill
It's always
Clinton
a sign, by the way.
What do you say?
Always this, when they rush out to try to change the narrative before something comes, that's always a sign that whatever happened was not flattering to Trump. Then they're trying to get ahead of it. Remember, like what they did with Bill Barr back in the day. It's the same playbook that they run every time.
Right. I mean, they literally posted this like from Comer's social media account, and then they gave the press conference. Folks, Bill Clinton exonerates Donald Trump. Totally, it was a total exoneration. So you went from attacking Bill Clinton to now he's your character witness of Donald Trump. That should raise your red flag number one, right? Like when Donald Trump's all of a sudden like, I like that guy. I'm upset he's being deposed. I wish he wasn't going through that. Okay. Like what's this guy really going to say? What did you tell Bill Clinton? And it's exactly what we've been saying in the Epstein files We've been talking about this for the last 5 years. What have I been saying? I've been saying focus on, and this is all connected. By the way, it's connected with Iran. It's connected with Russia. It's connected with all this stuff. I said focus on the real estate transaction where Trump outbid Epstein in 2004 for this mansion in Palm Beach that was in a foreclosure sale after this guy named Abe Gossman, who was a rich guy, went bankrupt. He had to sell his property. Epstein was going to buy it for $32 or $33 million. He brought Trump over to the property in 2004, asked Trump for advice about what he should do with the pool. The foreclosure sales the next day. Donald Trump, rather than helping Epstein with the pool, they were best friends. Trump outbids Epstein and does an all cash offer for 41.5, and it was a blind bid. So Epstein's like, how'd I lose? I had this thing set. I was going to win. And then and he goes, my best friend outbid me on the property. What the hell? I brought you over. And Trump's like, I just fell in love with the property. 4 years later, Trump sells the property for $95 million to a Russian oligarch named Dmitry Rybalov. 3 years after that, Rybalov destroys the property, demolishes it, never really uses the property. Donald Trump barely did any upgrades to the property. So Epstein, by the way, they were still kind of friends. Epstein was pissed at Trump after that, but they still kind of hung out. Epstein was quoted in page 6 of the New York Post, wasn't hiding it. After he was arrested in 2007, he said, yeah, I'm not banned from Mar-a-Lago. I go there all the time. But when the Russian oligarch bought the property, Epstein's like, oh, I see what you did. And Epstein thought it was either money laundering or some shenanigans, is what Epstein was telling people, that there was some shady business with Trump doing this deal with the Russian, even that maybe the Russian helped Trump buy it in all cash originally as well, and that there was a way to move Russian money into the United States or clean money. That's what Epstein was telling people. So that's what the feud was about. So then Epstein believed that Trump was then giving some of the secrets of what Epstein was doing, because Trump knew after Epstein was arrested, to the Palm Beach Police Department in order to hurt Epstein, because Epstein was telling people about what he thought was going on with Trump and the Russian guy. And that's what was really their falling out over that situation. We've been covering this here, honestly, at the MeidasTouch Network. What, Brett? I've been saying this real estate transaction over and over and over and over again, because it connects Trump with the Russians. It actually explains what happened with Epstein and Trump told that to Bill Clinton. Here's what Bill Clinton didn't exonerate him. Bill Clinton confirmed my theory. Play this clip of Bill Clinton.
The Safe at Home Foundation. And it was designed to combat domestic violence, of which Joe Torre had been a victim as a child. And so I wanted to support it. And so Donald Trump gave him the golf course in New York to have a tournament on, and I played in it a couple of times. And the day I was there, he would typically, Donald Trump would come out and play a few holes with us. And he somehow knew I had flown in Jeffrey Epstein's aircraft, and he said, we had some great times together over the years, but we fell out, all because of a real estate deal. And he said, I'm sorry it happened. That's all.
Do you recall whether President Trump was the first one to affirmatively bring up the subject of Jeffrey Epstein?
No, but I'd be shocked if I did. I just don't do that.
So the Republicans see that, and that's what they base exoneration on. like it's the craziest thing.
I'm sorry it happened.
Republicans see that and say exoneration. I mean, that's why, though, these are, I've used the term demented because I don't really know the right word to describe it. I don't want to say psychotic because it's psychosis is a serious mental health issue. And I try to pick my words carefully, and sometimes I'm wrong, but I try to capture it. So I say demented. But lots of you say like demons. Like these are like demon people. And these it's like, how do you lie? Like, like I won't do my Howard Lutnick impression because it'll make this episode go way longer than it needs to. But like, how do you say with a straight face over and over and over again that you've never hung out with the guy, knowing you've hung out with the guy all the time and you brought your kids to Pedo Island? Like, how do you physically do it? Right. And all the Trump regime people do this because they're cosplaying this thing. They're evil people and their words are meaningless because they just think that it's so easy to manipulate people if you just lie to them all the time about everything, because people usually hear words and trust the person who says it or trust a big lie because who lies about such big things? But this is what they do. I'll just show you one more thing that I think sums this all up as well. We posted, by the way, the full Clinton depot and the full Bill Clinton depot, Bill and Hillary. So if you want to watch the full depots, it's on our YouTube. Here's Hillary Clinton going off on Republicans after it was revealed that they were taking unauthorized images of her. Now, I just want to give you this preface. Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton wanted this all to be done public and live so that everybody can see it all at the same time. The public can see it. That's what they wanted. Again, regardless of what political party, who would object to that, right? After all of the attacks on Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton, the fight was that Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton want to go public and you want to keep it private. Just think, you being the Republicans want to keep it private. Just think about that. That's an undisputed fact that that's what the actual fight was over. So then you Republicans create the rule. No cameras, no media, no nothing. It's private. Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton don't want that. Then the Republican Congress members like Lauren Boebert and others start videotaping it with their camera and start taking photos to send it to the right-wing influencers to try to skew the narrative already in their favor and to hurt Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton. The ground rules were by Republicans. No media, no photos, no videos. So Hillary Clinton's like, I said we wanted this to be public. You all made the rule no. And now you're taking photos. What are you doing? I was going to say, what are you, 5 years old? But 5-year-olds don't behave like this. What are you doing? What? And it's like, I want this public. Just say what you want to say, whether you like the Clintons or you don't like the Clintons. I work for her. I happen to respect her. But say what you want to say. They want to go public and Republicans want to keep it private. So who cares about transparency? Just that fact alone. Here's the moment where Hillary Clinton gets pissed because she finds out these Republican Congress members are behaving in such a petulant and pathetic way. Let's play it.
To the fundraiser to support my friend Nia Lowy.
All right.
Excuse me, can I interrupt?
I have
There
another.
are photos that are being released of the secretary as she is testifying from inside this room. Can you please advise me as to whether or not that's permissible and consistent with the rules, particularly given that we have asked for a public hearing? If there are photos that are being released of the secretary as she is testifying, can you please explain how that
I'm
can
done
occur?
with this. If you guys are doing that, I am done. You can hold me in contempt from now until the cows come home. This is just typical behavior.
We will go off the record.
Oh, for heaven's
So I would like
sake.
to understand how that's permissible.
Before the hearing was,
It doesn't
Excuse
matter.
me.
We all are abiding by the same rules.
I will take that down.
Yeah,
So
well,
I would like to take a break at this moment.
yeah,
and I'd like to have
I'm
a
done
conversation.
for now.
Go off the record. Go off the record.
By the way, did you hear Lauren Boebert say, I'll take it down, I'll take it down. Then she doesn't take it down. And then they attack Hillary Clinton for that and say Hillary Clinton was unhinged and she acted like a maniac. And they attack her for what you just saw that and go after Hillary Clinton. Again, these are demons. These are demented individuals who are behaving in this way. And you know, I'll leave you all with this, and Brett and Jordy, I'll let you chime in. I'm sorry if I've been speaking a lot this segment, but for me, I'm often when the media tries to label me, right, anti-Trump or or Republican hater. I'm like that's you're really missing the point of all of this. You're really missing the point of all of it. I don't just like wake up and go, I don't like Trump. Bad. I don't. That's not. There's a lot of bad people. Okay, I don't have the energy for. Okay, I care when there are groups of people who are engaging in a course and conduct of behavior that is causing pain and suffering in this country. And when I'm able to diagnose it, and when I'm able to call it out, and I'm able to apply my values and principle set to the situation, that is the lens with which all of the reporting here is done, is based on that. If ultimately the Democrats are behaving like the Republicans and doing the exact same stuff, I'm not cheering on a specific Democrat over another specific Democrat. If you think that that's what you come here for, you don't know me then. My goal is to frame very clearly and with moral clarity a set of values and principles that I feel strongly about. And where I find alignment with the politician, great. Where I don't, I don't. But the personality, the this, the that, I just want the truth. I just want the honesty. I just want the facts. And this regime, this Trump regime, with the Netanyahu regime, against the Iranian regime, bad regimes. And they've now screwed up the world for all of us. We, the people, want to live in peace with each other and love and harmony and just get along with each other and go about our days and be able to live and have health care and raise our people. But these regimes that are out there have really made, it's pissed off is not the right word. I mean, I'm furious. All these regimes have really just made life very, very, very difficult. But we're not giving up. In fact, we're pushing forward harder than ever here on this network, on this channel, giving out the truth. These regimes try to lie. We double and triple our efforts. That's what we do here at the MeidasTouch Network. That's what we do. Anyway, I'll throw that to you, Brent.
Well said, Ben. Keep following the MeidasTouch YouTube channel for coverage. We're going to be releasing videos every 90 minutes, in some cases even more often than that, because this is a fast-paced story, obviously, that continues to develop like by the second. As Ben said, we have those depositions of Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton on our YouTube channel. Check them out. And I think it also shows you kind of the scam that you see the Republicans pulling as well. Like when you watch the Hillary Clinton deposition, in addition to the question that we showed you there, like they ask Hillary Clinton about Anthony Weiner, they ask Hillary Clinton about Pizzagate. Like the whole thing from the Republicans just shows how unseriously they are taking this entire investigation, and that they were just excited to be able to question Hillary Clinton over all this random stuff. And like Lauren Boebert in that clip that you showed, Ben, sounded like a little scared, like, just so terrified in Hillary's presence. And frankly, she should be, because Hillary Clinton towers over her in every single way. Lauren Boebert just looks so small. She is not even in the same league or universe as a Hillary Clinton, and does not even belong in that room. What a disgrace. But keep following all the coverage. Check us out on Substack, MeidasPlus.com. We got new updates every day there, and Ron Filipkowski does this incredible daily political bulletin. Check out the MeidasTouch store.MeidasTouch.com. Remember to check out our sponsors, links, and deals in the descriptions. And thank you to everybody again for watching. We are really, really, really grateful. Jordy, take it away.
Shout out to the Midas Mighty. Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.